Hello again. But if you are new with us, welcome to the Canting Club. This week we have a Chablis, one of the most famous names in the wine world, and of course it comes from France. This is actually one of the rare organic Chablis made by a small family producer, Jean Goulley et Fils, who pioneered organic grape growing in the region about 25 years ago. Everybody's heard of Chablis, but a remarkable number don't realise that it's actually made entirely from Chardonnay. But then, it does taste very different to, say, an Australian or a Californian Chard, as I hope we're about to find out. It looks rather different too. They would be a deeper yellow, and this is quite a pale greeny gold. That is just lovely. That's a remarkably full nose for a Chablis, or for an unoaked Chardonnay in general. It smelled beautiful when I first opened it, but it's really blossomed with air. And blossom is the word, for this smells of white flowers, acacia and hawthorn blossom. They're backed up though with lovely lemony citrus and fresh cut Cox's apple. Though quite ripe, this still displays some of that flinty stoniness that Chablis is famed for. There's a waft of mint and some notes of hazelnut as well, even though this wine is definitely unoaked. That's just beautiful. And so is that. It's very dry and it's not huge, maybe a bit less than medium bodied, a bit more than medium acidity, but it's got wonderful balance. Despite being much riper than I would expect from a straight Chablis, it tastes more like a Premier Cru. Reflecting the ripeness of the vintage, the quality of the fruit flavour here leans more towards yellow fruits than green ones. Orchard fruits though, it tastes of apples and pears and green gages, those green plums. It's still no fruit bomb, but those restrained fruit flavours are admirably backed up by this mineral weight that builds into the after palate and the finish. Actually, it's on the finish that you become more aware of the acidity. It's mouth-watering. There's a salty quality there as well, and lots of other minerals, stones and slate, and maybe even some of those oyster shells that are fossilised all over the Chablis vineyards in the soil. This wine has had 6 months aging on its lees, and you can tell that in the stony, salty, mineral quality of the finish. And it reminds me very much, in that respect, of the Chateau de Chasselois Muscadet that we drank a few months ago, another wine that had long lees aging. But this has a much more scented nose with those lovely floral white flowers. And it's also rounder and fuller and riper on the palate. This is classic and classy Chablis, and I think shows off beautifully the fine 2015 vintage. Now, a Chablis purist would tell you that 2015 was too hot for greatness and that 2014 was the best of the recent Chablis vintages. And if we were drinking expensive Premier Cru or Grand Cru wine, and if we'd been prepared to wait the 5 or more years that it takes for them to soften and come round, he'd be right. But this is not those vineyards. Premier Cru and Grand Cru are by definition the sunniest, warmest slopes, and so in really hot years they can overheat. These are great vineyards, but they're cooler. So the warmth of 2015 has allowed them to really shine, displaying a ripeness and an intensity that you normally only get on the Premier Cru. Better still, it's ready to drink now. You don't have to wait for it. And even better than that, we can afford it. Cheers.